Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Caroline Colas, and I'm the Senior Director of Health and Wellness at the Marlene Meyerson JCC Manhattan. Today, on the Positive Psychology Hour, a series that we have been doing since March 2020 with the Whole Being Institute, we're going to be discussing gratitude in all times, with Nancy Kirsner and Rabbi Debra Orenstein. Natalie Hoerner, who was going to be with us, unfortunately is not feeling well, but she will join us in February. This is December 21st, and it is the solstice. Winter solstice is the time of year when we are reminded that darkness is an integral part of healing and growth. The earth lays dormant, the trees are bare of leaves, the vibrant colors of the other seasons are absent. We are often naturally drawn towards the light and warmth. It feels better, clarity, understanding. However, the shadow of winter has its own intimacy in its stillness, its quiet, and its darkness. Kathy Washburn, who's been a guest on the Positive Psychology Hour, describes intimacy as into me I see. Today, we are going to look within through the lens of gratitude. Gratitude is a way of seeing that alters our gaze. It is a shift in perception based on mindfully looking for the good in our lives, and it can be a game changer. A 2015 Scientific American study reported that of 24 strengths, including love, hope, kindness, and creativity, the single best predictor of good relationships and emotional well-being was gratitude. And a recent study found that gratitude was important to well-being during COVID-19 specifically. Nancy and Debra Orenstein will be talking about and offering their tips and experiences to help us unpack gratitude. We'll also discuss it from a Jewish roots and approach perspective. And gratitude will be shared for everyday life as well as gratitude practices for the new year. A little bit about our guests and presenters today. Nancy Kirsner, PhD, TMP, OTR, has been in private practice teaching or consulting for over 45 years. In 2015, Nancy became a certified positive psychologist through the Whole Being Institute. Nancy loves translating positive psychology principles and research into applied practice utilizing experiential learning. And she's the co-author with Phoebe Atkinson's of a chapter in Action Explorations using psychodramatic methods in non-therapeutic settings, edited by Adam Blattner, 2015. Nancy is the past president of the American Society of Sociometry and Group Psychotherapy and has been the editor of the ASGPP's Psychodrama Network News for the last 3 years. Let's see. And then our Rabbi Debra Orenstein brings the meaning and relevance of Jewish spiritual traditions to diverse audience. Named by the Jewish Daily Forward as one of America's most inspiring rabbis, she has been a keynote speaker at hundreds of venues, including houses of worship, the Chenagua Institute, and Christian, Jewish, and interfaith conferences. She also connects directly with the public through online classes and her e-newsletter. And we're going to put something in the chat where you'll be able to stay in touch with her. For over 20 years, Rabbi Debra taught at the American Jewish University in Los Angeles. Today, she is an instructor at the Academy for Jewish Religion in New York and the spiritual leader of the congregation B'nai Israel in Emerson, New Jersey. In 2016, she completed her certification in positive psychology, and Rabbi Debra is the author of 8 books, including the Life Cycle series. Her most recent audio teaching is Gratitude, Receiving Blessings and Giving Thanks as a Spiritual Practice. The main focus of Debra's justice work is ending slavery and promoting freedom. A 7th-generation rabbi, she is also an alum of the first entering class at the Jewish Theological Seminary Rabbinical School to include women. She loves working with people of all backgrounds to enhance their everyday lives and address our ultimate concerns. Welcome to the call, Nancy and Rabbi Debra, thank you so much. Let me spotlight you both. And we're going to send some healing wishes to Natalie. And Phoebe, I believe you had a quote that you
Yes.
wanted to read. I'm going
Yes,
to add you
I
here.
will. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. This is the last webinar of the Positive Psychology Hour for this year. And the topic today was inspired by a research study that I saw this summer at the International Positive Psychology Association about gratitude during the pandemic. We started off our series this year in looking at the research that was done, the overall interventions of positive psychology during the pandemic that was helping people to stay resilient and increase their well-being. So today we're going to focus in on the power of gratitude, and what better way than to bring in these exemplars of gratitude. Nancy Kirsner has spent her last decade at least, not only does she embody this, but teaching gratitude, as well as Rabbi Debra Orenstein that really embodies the teachings. So we wanted to start with Tal Ben Shahar, not only because he is really the reason that brought us all together in the original certificate in positive psychology, that he founded that course where we all met, but also Natalie, who won't be with us today. This was her first slide, and I wanted to honor all the work she did to prepare. Boy, do we need a plan B. So here's plan B. I wanted to bring in Tal's quote, which really starts us off today. He says that good and bad things happen to all of us. However, what we decide to focus on the most determines how happy we are. When we focus on the negative, we create a reality where the negative is reinforced and the positive is weakened. When we focus on the positive, we create a better reality where the positive comes first. This is what gratitude does. And the original focus was gratitude in hard times. However, I think Rabbi Debra, you wrote and said, how about gratitude in all times? You know, let's remember it's for the hard times for sure, and also for all times. So off we go. Nancy Kirsner, I think you're our first speaker today. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you very much. It is always a pleasure to be with the JCC of Manhattan, and I'm grateful that I've been invited to speak here several times. I have to say that gratitude is my favorite topic, bar any, and it's also my go-to, and I'll tell you a little more about that. I was expecting Natalie to be the first layer, and I was going to kind of be the in the middle girl. So I'm going to see what I can do to encompass it all and bring it together. My context of seeing it, I think that Carolyn and Phoebe said it, is I'm a very practical kind of action-oriented therapist. So I always like to translate things into very to-dos and simple things. Also, that's very congruent. And this is something that struck me when Dr. Tao was training us. And he said, all of this science of positive psychology, gratitude, it's meant to be taken to the people. It's not meant to stay in the library and in the research. And that was very appealing to me, coming from a PhD academic world, that's often my lens is, how can we get this to just regular people? So I try to translate things that way. So I was thinking about when we originally had 10 minutes each, I was thinking, oh my goodness, it's a mini TED Talk. It's half of a TED Talk. I got to go fast so I can breathe a little more and slow down a little bit more. I was thinking of if there were 3 things that I wanted you to walk away from. I always like to think of what 3 things would they be? So here they go. First of all, that gratitude is the heavy hitter of all the character strengths. It also happens to be one of the 10 positive emotions that Barbara Fredrickson studies. So why is it the heavy hitter? There's more research on gratitude than any other topic in the field. That's one reason. And it's a heavy hitter because, you know, it's been part of our life. We've been raised to be thankful. If we have a tradition or wisdom tradition, thankfulness, gratitude, we've heard it all along. But what's the heavy hitter part of it is we now have the research and the science, and we now also know that gratitude is probably one of the easiest things to teach. You can teach it to children and people of all ages. So it's very easy to teach. And even with, I think the research says 3 weeks of doing a gratitude practice 2 or 3 times a week, people were found to be 25% feeling better and more whole being. I think that's a lot of bang for your buck. So it's the heavy hitter. It's most researched. It's an easy one to step into. The second thing that I'll say about gratitude that I'd like you to know is it is not easy. It is, it's easy to just say I'm grateful. We're just not hardwired to be grateful all the time. And it fights against our negativity bias, which is always looking for what's wrong, where's the trouble, what do I need to take care of? So it's not natural and easy. It is one of those things that, you have to work at. And it sure hasn't been easy. This is why I kind of, you'll see on my slides, I kept the title of gratitude during difficult times, because I think it has been a difficult time. And I haven't measured. Some people have done better using their gratitudes, but there certainly have been times when I would say it was kind of like Carolyn described. It was the winter solstice. There was a lot of darkness and there was a lot of wintering, and here we're going through another phase. So even if it weren't difficult times, I just want to say we're not hardwired to do gratitude naturally. So my goal today is to kind of up your understanding and for you to see that gratitude is a lens. Carolyn said it. She set the table for me. It's a lens. It's a way of seeing the world. It's much bigger than a tool or a practice. And lastly, why gratitude is one of my favorite things is I call it, it's my favorite antidepressant because it's such a connector. Gratitude is a bridge of connection. As soon as you start thinking about gratitude, you're going to think about who and what you're grateful for. You're going to think about why you are where you are, all the people that helped you along the way, your grandparents, your mentors, the past ones, the current ones. So immediately when you start thinking about gratitude, what does it do? It puts you in touch with relationships, which you just learned relationships are the highest predictors of whole being and health. And the other thing it connects you with, as soon as you start thinking about people and relationships, it connects you to resiliency, because all of the resiliency literature is about you don't do it alone, you engage other people. So heavy hitter gratitude, not easy to do, it does take work, and a bridge of connection. That's just as I wanted to start you off with. Other thing before I get into sharing the slides, I just wanted to introduce the concept of neuroplasticity, because that's the science that's behind a lot of it. So neuroplasticity is a fancy science word for we learned that our brain is changeable throughout the lifespan. And I was very grateful to learn that, particularly as I was moving into my late 60s and 70s. The brain can change throughout the lifespan. And the second part of that, which we'll be speaking more about, is it also means that we can rewire. We can actually change our brains by how we think, the choices we make. And that's a lot about what myself and Rabbi Debra will be sharing about things that we've learned and other people find helpful about that we can rewire our brains. So let me see that we do share screen. Okay. Let me put this on slideshow. So one of the things that I am very grateful for, and it actually came up quite a bit in, I've done almost 190 groups in my community pro bono for people. One group's just been a support group and the other group's a learning group. And this came up a lot, particularly in people of my age. I'm very grateful that I learned how to use technology. I could barely do a Zoom, and I sure couldn't have put a slideshow together. And I really am grateful for that. And it was really nice because I had to bring in younger people to teach me. So that it's fun. So I'm very grateful that I can do this.
Hey,
So
Nancy, could you put
Did
it
you
on?
want to put your PowerPoint on slideshow?
I thought
So
I did. Let's see.
go ahead and click.
Slideshow from beginning. It doesn't seem to want to do its thing.
Just have to click on it. There you go, a little stronger.
Okay, this is not what we want. Let me get out of this. Uh-oh. All right, let me try it again.
Take two.
That's so share. Okay. Oh, now it's gone. All right.
I think you have to open it. I think you accidentally closed it.
I think I did too. So let me go back to that and open it.
Not to worry, we have time.
Not to worry. So I guess I didn't learn the technology so well. Let's see. Let me take that off.
Well, what I've learned about technology is it's making us very agile. It's constantly changing, right? If you have a phone update, you know what I mean.
All right. So now I've got the slides up, but you can't see them, right?
Go ahead and share your screen.
Okay.
And we'll probably be able to see them.
So I'm trying to get back to share screen.
I have your slides also, Nancy, just in case you need me to do it.
Okay. All right, let's try this one more time. Okay, there they are. And let's see share.
There it is.
There it is. Let's see if I can get the slideshow going from beginning. There we go. Persistence. Okay.
Ta-da!
Ta-da, ta-da.
Well done.
There's the wonderful Melody Beattie quote that I love. And I'll say more about this particular little visual about this tiny little plant growing out of the concrete. So this is about, actually, Carolyn set the table for me on this one. So thank you, Carolyn. I want to suggest that you stretch your mind, and that gratitude is not about new places, new things, but I think the Marcel Proust quote, it's about seeing things with new eyes. And what I like about this is we carry our eyes with us everywhere. So it's not about a tool or a practice, but it's really about seeing things with new eyes, really embodying this. So what is gratitude about? Oops. Gratitude is, this is the rewiring part, by the way. Gratitude is about teaching yourself to look for the good, and it's a choice. And it's also about looking for the good and really noticing the positive moments. And it's about not just noticing them, it's about thinking about them and really noticing them, sharing them. Share it with a friend, share it with your husband, and share it with anyone, because when you share it, you ignite the same sense of good feelings and gratitude in the other person. So looking for the good and sharing it is how, that's the how of how we rewire. And I'll give you a good little, you want to test this? Think of next time you have one of your very difficult days, one of those days where you go, I don't want to repeat this, please. If you rewind that day, I make very few promises, but I'll promise you this. You'll find 3 or 4 times during that day where there were good moments. It might have been a sweet interaction you had with a child. It might have been you went outside and you felt the sun on you and it was just wonderful. And that's the deal, is you've got to learn to train your eyes to look for the good. Now, that doesn't mean it's not happyology where we forget about the real and the painful and difficult stuff. It's about a big capital and. Yes, we notice that and we know it's there. And we pay attention to the other, because this is how we rewire our brain. So actually having enough of gratitude and good things on board allows us to have some balance as we go into hard things. I also wanted to make a connection between gratitude and mindfulness. And mindfulness, I know you hear that buzzword all around. Mindfulness is just a fancy word for focused attention. And probably mindfulness, I would think, I'll see what my colleagues think. I think mindfulness is probably involved in every change and any change you want to make, because you got to focus. So it's a choice, and we do have a choice. And it is about a shift in perception. Carolyn also mentioned this. And I want you to recognize you do have a choice. We have a choice, maybe not about the event and what happens, but we have a choice if we can have an open mindset and a curious mindset to think and feel about it in different ways. A lot of this knowledge about mindfulness came from Dr. Ellen Langer, and she may not be a name that you hear a lot. I like to mention her because she is actually the mother of positive psychology, and I don't like to leave out the women. And I love her way of defining, how she talked about creative attention to the new, asking yourself when you have that difficult experience or day, okay, what else is there? And I think that's a nice question to remember. What else is there? So gratitude, it's mindfulness, and it really is training your brain. It's self-regulating yourself to look for the good and to not let your brain get hijacked by the negative, which is so easy to do. I particularly think of that during COVID. News is negative, politics is negative, all of the media. It's really easy to get hijacked. So I said that gratitude is one of the heavy hitters in most research. So gratitude shows up in the VIA, the values in action, which is a very probably one of the largest pieces of research in positive psychology, where we look at character strengths. But what I particularly wanted you to see is, as a character strength, if you look at the purple section of these strengths, gratitude turns up as a transcendent strength. And I'm sure that I know Rabbi Debra is going to tie that one in. It's one of those strengths that allows us to get beyond the very difficult things and to get beyond them in unusual ways. I sometimes call them the Viktor Frankl, the Nelson Mandela strengths. And you see gratitude is amongst them: spirituality, humor, and hope. This is probably my favorite slide. And I know my very dear friend, Sherry Kelly, is online, and she would do this in a very complete way, but I'm going to see if I can make it understandable both for myself and for you. So there's a lot of fabulous slides of what the brain looks like on gratitude and all kinds of things. And some of the slides, if you go online, are actually moving in their real brains, and it's fabulous. But this is just a little mini version because I want you to stay with me. So this is what your brain looks like on gratitude. And this is how it lights up. And these are the things it does. So it regulates the stress hormones. That's cortisol and adrenaline. So if it's regulating the stress hormones, it's going to reduce fear and anxiety. It also, gratitude is making the firing and the wiring. When you feel gratitude, it gets connected to the bliss center, the pleasure center in your brain. And those are the pleasure center, some people, the bliss center. That's what we're trying to grow more paths to. So it begins to have its own way to it, and we don't keep getting hijacked by the negative. Also, when our brain is on gratitude, we are focusing on positive thinking. If you even begin your day and at some point, I'm going to write in my gratitude journal, or I'm going to call up my accountability buddy, Rabbi Debra, we're going to talk about gratitude today. As soon as you even think that, you start priming your brain. You're going to start looking for, I wonder what will show up in my gratitude conversation tonight. So what you're doing is you're restructuring your brain. You're taking control of, you're setting an intent for the day, and that restructures. The last one over here is nice. When your brain is on gratitude, it produces the happy, I call them the happy hormones. Dopamine is all about feeling happy, and serotonin dopamine is about feeling good, and serotonin is sometimes called the happiness hormone. So what are these little hormones? These little transmitters are like little neurochemical messengers in your brain. And this is what you hear about if you do exercise or walking or anything for 20 minutes, you get a high. That's from these, because these are sometimes called the body's natural opiates. Okay, so this is the slide after which we'll do a little breakout. So I'm going to see if I can, and Rabbi Debra, feel free if you want to add something in. Natalie was going to talk a lot about, most of you know what SPIRE is. It's our whole being word that we use to describe whole being. And it's made up of spiritual, physical, intellectual, relational, emotional benefits. And one of the things that's really interesting is gratitude has benefits in every one of those areas. And you could apply it in every one of those areas, and I'm sure you do. And I'm also sure that your gratitude shows up more easily in certain areas. I would say, like for myself, my gratitude really shows up in my spiritual practices, and shows up a lot in my relational life, because I express it a lot. It's kind of become natural. We already learned about this, that the benefits are that it increases the feel good and the happiness hormones, lowers the stress. So you already really, I talked to you about this. And if you want to know more in depth about the research, you can get with any of Dr. Robert Emmons' books. He's kind of the main guru and the main researcher as well, not just a guru, and an amazing person. So I think that this is where we wanted to take some breakout groups. So is anybody not familiar with SPIRE? Let me stop my share for a moment. Is anybody, everybody pretty much knows SPIRE? Yeah, okay. So were you going to put up, Phoebe, did you want to put up a?
Yes, I will.
Okay, so here's our question. We're going to put you into groups. This actually came from Natalie. What aspect of SPIRE that you've used or could use that ties in with your gratitude the most? What aspect of SPIRE and gratitude have you found? There you go. Thank you. I love that. So just take a few moments, and where in this SPIRE model has your gratitude shown up the most, particularly during these last 20, I guess we're at 22 months now. So that's the question that we'd like you to speak to in your groups. So Phoebe, are you gonna take it away in a minute?
To everyone, I can put you into your breakout rooms, everyone. You'll be with about 4 or 5 participants, and depending on who joins, and enjoy. So picking one of these areas, spiritual, physical, intellectual, relational, emotional, or just what comes to mind. It could be just top of mind. And Nancy, just tell them again what they want to share with one another.
You want to share what element of SPIRE has been most available to you in terms of gratitude. What element of SPIRE just shows your gratitude, works it out?
So for example, can you share with us what it is for you?
Sure. I would pick the spiritual and the relational. In doing these groups, some of which are people from my temple, they're all open groups. Some of our things from Judaism, and the group has gotten very cohesed. We see each other twice a week, and it's pretty intimate. And so we share gratitude on a regular basis about things we're grateful for, even in the middle of the muck. So that happens, and it's in the context of these relationships, which have gotten much more cohesed because there's a lot more continuity. Some of us, we'd see each other at temple maybe once a month or a few months, but having the opportunity to see each other twice a week has really created a deeper, more cohesive environment in which it's easier to share gratitude, and it's kind of a regular part of our practice.
Wonderful. Okay, everyone, off you go. And if you can't, for whatever reason, like Deirdre, if you can't join, don't worry, you can stay right where you are because I will be here, and Nancy might stay with me, or she might jump as well. So here you go. To discuss gratitude and what aspect of Spire it has impacted you perhaps the most right now. And I'll just pause the recording and we can discuss this in our own. Nice to see you. Welcome back, everyone. It's so nice to see you. I hope that you had a good time sort of talking with one another. Are we now, Nancy, are we going to hear from Rabbi Debra, or did you want to sum up anything? You just have to unmute.
Okay. Well, okay. We did the brain, we did that, we did that, we did that, we did that. Benefits, okay. Just to speak to the difficult times, the brain, gratitude is a great way to sort through the trauma that comes through these experiences that can take us from it being trauma to being growth. And that was the whole visual with the little plant. Gratitude is a great sifter of what's important. And I'm sure you've heard this all along with people saying, wow, I've never spent so much time at home or with my family or with my children. Those are the gratitudes that have come out of this experience. And last but not least, there are many ways that you can develop a gratitude practice. I'll just mention a few. The most important thing is keep it simple, don't overwhelm yourself, and let it be intentional and consistent. You can do 3 blessings, you can journal, you can write a letter or a visit. These are some gratitude jars that I created for my granddaughters with some pebbles and things in the middle. And they just take them out and write what they're grateful for and put them in their jars or each other's jars. So anything that concretizes it and makes it much more visible. And last, I will share this, which is a quote from Dr. Emmons. When I see life as full of gifts and I'm a receiver, our entire life is one big gift. It enables me to organize my experience, see myself as the recipient of giftedness, as well as a potential giver of my own gifts onto other people. That constitutes my identity, a recipient as well as a giver of grace. Couldn't say it any better than that. So let me turn it over to the rabbi. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Let me spotlight Rabbi Debra. Thank you so much for joining us today. Gotta find you.
Thank you so much to Nancy and to the Positive Psychology Hour, Phoebe and Caroline. I hope you can see up on the screen
yes.
the title, Gratitude at All Times. I added the exclamation point and the question mark because at all times, are we really capable of that? That's what we aspire to. But as Nancy was saying, it's not always easy. I was very glad and grateful for that. Oops, I'm going to go backwards. Excuse me. Very glad and grateful for that breakout group. And it's easy to see why when we think about our aspirations, the fresh start effect of 2022, when we are connected spiritually, when we're feeling physically well or just aware of our senses and their power, when we're learning something new, when we're connecting with other people in a breakout room, when we're feeling a sense of well-being or happiness, of course it's easy to be grateful. But equally, we could say, when our aspirations are thwarted, when travel is canceled, when we're feeling spiritually constricted, when our bodies are in pain, when our minds are foggy, it's so much harder. If there's trouble in our relationships, if there's strife in the family or in the body politic, as there certainly has been lately, it's easy to fall into negative emotions, and it's easy to, if not be ungrateful, at least to lack access to gratitude. So I created this little slide of the two babies to show that both things are true. At times, gratitude seems obvious. It's the only way to be. It's the only way to live. How could I feel anything but grateful? Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel said, just to be is a blessing. That echoes some of the more modern Robert Emmons quotes that Nancy shared with us. But there are times too where gratitude is so elusive, it feels impossible. And that's part of being human too. The next slide reminds us that the word Jew itself means grateful. And this comes from the book of Genesis, where Leah, we are told, was hated. She had a husband who didn't intend to marry her, wanted to marry her sister, was sort of stuck with her, and she felt it and he felt it. And when she had her first son, Reuben, she named him Reuben, because that means, behold, a son, which sounds like a celebration until you look at the Hebrew and it's explained, God has seen my affliction and maybe now my husband will love me. And then she names the next son Simon, from the root shama, to listen. But again, it's not God heard my prayer or God heard how I longed for children. It's God heard that I was hated and gave me this one also. And then she has a third son. She conceives and she bears another child named Levi. Levi means to be attached to or to accompany. And she doesn't say, I have this family accompanying me in life. I hope to always walk with my children and husband. I hope to become better attached. She says, maybe this time my husband will be attached to me now that I've borne him 3 sons. And then finally, she says, when her 4th son is born, Hapa'am odeh et Adonai. This time I will thank and acknowledge God. And therefore she named him Judah, because the word Yehudi or Judah, Jew, means thankful. Now you'll notice there's a 3-to-1 ratio. First, she was incapable of gratitude. She was stuck in that negative mindset. She saw what she didn't have. She focused on what was missing in her life. And she had legitimate reasons to be upset. But something switched and she was able to give thanks and to appreciate what she had and to really take in her blessings. And this owes itself in part to the derivation of the word odeh or todah, thankfulness, because it doesn't just mean to give thanks, it means to acknowledge and even to admit. In a court of law, you admit to something. It's the same verb, odeh. And my son is going through the college application process. And so when you think about college admissions, it raised this idea for me. When I can admit, that is, acknowledge God's blessings, then I can admit them. I can take them in the way we're admitted to college or any other program. I can really drink them in. But first, I have to acknowledge them. I have to see them for what they are. I have to focus on them. So from this Hebrew root, meaning to admit, to acknowledge, or to thank, we get the word for thanksgiving and gratitude, hodaya. About this, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel said, there are inalienable obligations as well as inalienable rights. Meaning, I admit not just that I have good in my life, but that I didn't get here by myself, that I owe a debt of gratitude to God, to other people, to life. And I'm not only entitled to good things, but I'm obligated to the world because of all the good I have received. That's an essential component of gratitude. Now, we practice this in Jewish life through Hakarat Hatov, a practice of recognizing the good. And Nancy referred to this in presaging your day. When you know that you're going to be writing in a gratitude journal or filling your gratitude jar or writing a thank you note, then you're on the lookout for moments of gratitude and appreciation. The call to prayer in Judaism, the Baruch, is translated as, let us bless God who is blessed. And I often point out that this sounds like a redundancy or a tautology. Why are we blessing something that's already blessed? Well, we have no problem cursing what's already cursed. If you've ever been in traffic and seen the raised fist in another car or felt it yourself, oh, I'm going to curse what's cursed. I'm going to share my pet peeve. I'm going to dwell on that. We have no problem doing that, but we have to deliberately make an effort to recognize the good, to see it, to admit it, to acknowledge it, to really take it in. In Judaism, we have a practice of 100 blessings each day. The word for blessing, biracha, relates to the word for pool, virecha, because we dive in. We try to immerse ourselves in blessings. There are preset, known blessings, like the blessings over food, the blessing for seeing a rainbow, the blessing for meeting a friend that you haven't seen in over a year, the blessing for hearing good news, and so many more. And of course, there are spontaneous blessings, recognition of good that happens in the moment. This is a teaching from Reverend Connie Habash that I love. She says, when we practice gratitude, we shift our attention from what's wrong or missing to what is here. Now, notice she doesn't say to what is right or what is good. We don't always and only have to look for the good. It's helpful, as Tal Ben Shachar pointed out. It's wonderful when we can see it. But sometimes the best we can do is say, what is here? Here is this new baby in my arms. That's what Leah saw in the book of Genesis. Here is this next breath that I have. Right here, right now, in your sensory experience, in your intellect, in your spirit, in your emotions, in your relationships, what do you notice? I love the teaching from one of my teachers in positive psychology, Dr. Maria Serwa, who said that even the worst day has a best moment. This goes back to Nancy's promise, that if you reflect back, even on the most difficult times, there are a few bright spots. The great Christian writer Anne Lamott said, gratitude contains a heightened and amazed realization of how much goodness is marbled into our strange and sometimes hard and annoying lives. That's said with a lot of humor, but it honors the difficult and the good. One way that we can approach gratitude, and I think cultivate it more, is by breaking up gratitude in terms of time. There's a meetup prayer, a traditional Jewish prayer that's said 3 times every day. And it is a prayer of gratitude that begins, we thank you, or we could translate, we admit to you, we are indebted to you, God, for your miracles which are with us every day, for your wonders and favors, the Hebrew is tovatech, the goodnesses, which are with us every day, evening, morning, and noon. Now, we might debate what constitutes a miracle. Do miracles still happen today? I would vote yes, but no one could debate that every day there is something that creates wonder. Every day there is something to be in awe of. Every day there are small favors and kindnesses and goodnesses that people do one for another. And it helps us, I think, to break that down still further and say, what's good in the evenings? What do I love about my cuddle time with my kids, or that cup of tea that I sit with as I read my book, or that moment before drifting off to sleep that feels peaceful? What is it in my routine? What is it that sometimes happens that's beautiful about the evening? What is it about the night sky? What's good about the morning? What can I appreciate there? Almost every day, I have it right here. My husband brings me a cup of coffee in the mornings. That's not just caffeine, that's love every morning. What's good about noon? Certainly the positive psychology hour, Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon, is a new blessing, a new goodness and kindness, and even something to wonder at that we've been doing it all this time. So breaking down our time and not just globally saying, I'm grateful for family, I'm grateful for nature, but looking carefully at each day, that can help us become still more grateful. Another way Jewishly that we break down time is in terms of this morning prayer that begins how happy we are, Ashrenu, declaring, setting an intention for happiness. And it goes on to say, how good is our portion, how pleasant is our destiny, how beautiful is our heritage. And really, as I've shown on the screen, these map onto our present, our future, and our past. What is good about this moment right now? What do you sense? What can you be grateful for? As you anticipate the future, the fresh start of 2022, events coming up, hopes for the future, what is pleasant about your destiny? What do you know that you know that you know will happen, come what may, that you're looking forward to? What future are you committed to creating that you can be grateful for now, even before it arrives? And how can you harvest the good of the past? What gifts have you been given by your religion, by your ancestors, by this positive psychology hour? There's so much to be grateful for when we break down time and we start with the present, go back to the past, look forward to the future. Of course, the Sabbath is the primary Jewish way to be grateful in time. The Talmud says Shabbat is not a time for petitions. 6 out of 7 days we do our work, we acquire, we control, we manage. 1 day a week, we step back and we don't ask for more. We exist with what already is. We connect to the people that we love. We strengthen every aspect of Spire. The word Shabbat means to pause. And the truth is, it's very hard to be grateful when you're in a rush. So pausing, whether through the technology of Shabbat or in other ways, can be so helpful. Of course, as Caroline mentioned, we're in this time of darkness. We're at the solstice. And it's around this season that we have holidays of light. Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav taught that when you're really in the darkest part of the cave, when you're in the deepest depression or anxiety, or even if you've fallen into the deepest sin, he says, that's when the tiny points of light become the most visible. It's when people are in hospice, when people are in crisis, that they really become aware of those small wonders and blessings that are with us every day. And we don't have to wait for the darkness in order to realize that. We can change our perspective. And this is the quote from Rabbi Nachman on your screen. He describes how if the sun is shining in your eyes, sometimes all you have to do is just hold up a single hand and it will block out the sun. Well, we put up obstacles like that in the face of divine light. So let us lower our hands, drink in the light, admit it, invite it, and bless it. I'm going to ask now, having said all that, if people would please share in the chat something that you are grateful for, past, present, future, evening, morning, noon. Looking back on the last year, because we're coming to the end of 2021 and the end of this season of the Positive Psychology Hour, What are you grateful for? And let's please share that with one another in the chat. I see somebody said, grateful for life itself, for the positive psychology hour, for the Whole Being Institute, for health, family and friends, for the beauty of nature, helping grandkids, friendships and family, animals. Grateful for FaceTime and technologies like Zoom that enable us to connect. There's so much to be grateful for. Grateful for your service, said to everyone. I hope everyone takes that in as a gift and a blessing to you. Admit it, you've been of service. Grateful for Phoebe, amen to that. Amazing programs offered at the JCC, another amen to that. So many different things to be grateful for. So as these gratitudes continue to come in, I'm going to share my screen one more time. And I want to share with you this blessing from the Jewish tradition. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. And it's in English on your screen. Blessed are you, Adonai, sovereign of all time and space, who has given us life and sustained us and enabled us to reach this time. And you can see a bird coming into this life, being sustained through food and taking flight. That's my wish for all of us, that we rebirth ourselves, rebirth our gratitude, retrain our brains, that we sustain ourselves and one another in gratitude, and that we take flight. Thank you, everyone.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Wow. How do you feel, everybody? What I love about gratitude is the expansion that it creates inside my body. It makes me feel bigger. How about for you? Thank you to Phoebe, to our presenters, and we wish that Natalie, wherever you are, that you're feeling better, and we look forward to seeing you in February. Everyone, as you end your year, may you do so in gratitude. We will see you on January 2nd. We have an incredible free day of offerings, and we're starting off with positive psychology with Scott Barry Kaufman. And at the end of the day, there'll be, for 3 days, you'll be able to watch the film Mission Joy with Desmond Tutu and the Dalai Lama. And then at the end of the day, Michael Steger and Kelly McGonigal are going to be joining me for a discussion about joy. I can't wait. So I hope you'll join us. There's fitness classes. There is a lecture on sleep and Qigong. There's food, lectures on food. It's going to be an incredible day. It's completely free. It's what we do every single year. And I'm so grateful that we do it so that we can all start off on the right foot, whatever foot you choose, whether it's left or right. Yeah. Thank you so much to our presenters. I'm going to turn off the spotlights and let's shift it to gallery view so you can unmute and thank our presenters for their time and
Thank
their
you,
heart
Nancy.
and their energy.
Thank you, Rabbi Deb.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Phoebe.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for this amazing series.
Appreciate
Yes.
you enriching our life.
Thank
Happy
you.
New Year, almost everybody. We'll see you on January 2 in 2022.
Happy New Year.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Bye.